Hey there, what's going on everybody? It's Star. It's that time of year again. That's right, that time of year that every artist dreads. Inktober! I knew for a fact that I wasn't going to be on top of things with this challenge. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do every single day. I never am. And last year, I just sort of gave up on it. I think I only got 2 days of the way through before I just wasn't able to do it anymore. So I wanted to be more present in it this year. Now, of course, I wasn't able to do it every day, and I wasn't able to do nearly as many days as I initially wanted. But I still managed to do some. It just ended up being a thing where it was like, half of the pieces took at least a week or more to complete, on top of how long they just took in general and with everything else that I have going on in my regular life. So I just didn't have time to do a lot of them, but I did do some, and I still wanted to get them out here, and I still wanted to make a video about them. I do have another video that's Halloween related coming up soon, so I want to put that out soon as well. But for now, we're just going to stick with Inktober stuff. So without further ado, let's get into it. So for this first piece, it was Grimoire, and I had to look that up to even understand what I was supposed to do for this one. It basically means like magical, book, like a spell book or something along those lines. So I wanted to do sort of witch character, I guess. It's not that, obvious that it's a witch, but I was kind of thinking that when I was making this character. And of course, with the most of these, I wanted to make some type of creepy or aggressive expression, so that's what I was mainly focused on when doing this. I had also changed my style. I had changed my style over the course of the month, from the beginning of this to the last piece that I end up doing for, this challenge. My style ended up changing a lot, so there was a lot of experimentation within these pieces, but I did have a lot of fun making this one specifically. It was a lot of fun, and I do end up loving how it turned out. And since this was the first one, I was a whole lot more fired up, so this planning part took a whole lot longer than how the rest of them did. I was doing mood boards, and I was doing a few sketches, some value studies before finally getting into jumping into doing this. I think I started doing this right before October actually came, which is what I usually do to prepare for Inktober. I start drawing the stuff and I start brainstorming beforehand, but I didn't get to do that much of that before October actually came, so this doesn't really happen. The planning process isn't as long for the rest of the pieces, but I had a lot of fun throughout the entire thing, throughout the entire process of it, planning it and everything. I just enjoy doing it a lot, and I enjoyed the general vibe of this whole piece and how it turned out. Just the whole experience was really fun. This is the final piece for Grimoire. Again, I really love how this turned out, and this was super fun. So let's move on to the next one. So the next one is breakfast, and immediately my idea was to do a little cannibal thing, like she's making some type of breakfast or some type of pastry or a pancake or something like that, and she's mixing in human remains or something like that, because the concept of cannibalism in like horror genres in movies and in horror games and stuff like that has always been an interesting concept to me. And I know that might sound weird at first glance, but I just love horror stuff. It's another reason why I love Inktober and why I love Halloween and stuff like that. I've always been extremely interested in horror stuff, and it's mainly been the lore behind a lot of these concepts that are used in horror movies and games and stuff like that. And anything that has to do with eating or food or anything like that in the horror genre automatically gravitates me to cannibalism or something along those lines. So that's the first thing that I thought of, but I didn't end up liking this one that much. I think this is when my style was starting to change again. So I was in a more experimental phase and I was doing a lot of different stuff, but I didn't end up actually liking how it turned out. But I didn't want to scrap it. I initially was just going to hide it from the world and nobody was going to see it, but I didn't want to actually do that. I decided to trust the process and go through the entire piece and actually put it out and put it in this video. Because I tend to do that with a lot of pieces that I don't like immediately, instead of just, going through the entire thing. So I just decided to, keep this the way that it is. I did like actually making this more than I actually liked the end result. But again, I didn't want to scrap it, so I was trying to put it out here anyway. This is the end result for breakfast. Again, I didn't really like the end result for this one as much, but I did really enjoy actually drawing this, especially when it came to drawing the little breakfast pieces like the eggs and the pancakes on the actual table. So that was more fun. But anyway, let's move on to the next one. This next one is Fortune Teller. So this one was extremely fun to do because I was doing half of this entire piece like at work. So I was rushing with a lot of this, and I was, pressed for time because I was doing it under, break time and stuff. And in order to make the sketch process faster, I ended up doing the thing where you block in shapes and colors instead of actually doing a sketch. And that was extremely fun to do. I've done that before, but I haven't done it in a long time. So doing it again was just very fun, and it made the element of me being pressed for time way more, fun, way more cool and stuff. So I initially loved the sketch, and I was ready to go into line art, and I was excited about how it's going to look. And then it ended up turning out not at all how I envisioned. And I know that might sound stupid because, the end result looks exactly like how the sketch really looks. Of course, with a few things and being tweaked and stuff later. But I don't know. Something was off about this, and I just ended up, not liking it as much. But the entire process for doing this was so fun that I can't even be mad at it. I don't know where I got the idea for the eyes and the lips and stuff everywhere, but I couldn't tell you any lore reason behind this. I was just trying to make this as creepy as possible, and I was mainly focused on the actual character design of the woman that's in the middle more than anything. But this was just so fun to do, dude, and mainly the sketch part was just the most fun part for me, so I did still enjoy this. This is the end result for Fortune Teller. I think I could have brightened this up a little bit more instead of making the entire thing dark. And that was my initial intention, but it didn't even really end up panning out that well. But I still did really enjoy doing this. And it, you know, and I ended up liking it later on in the end. So let's move on to the next one. This next prompt was dried flowers. And guys, this one was the most fun to do out of every single one of them. This one I enjoyed the most out of all of them. It was just, it turned out exactly how I wanted it to, and the colors were so warm and so bright, and it looked exactly how I wanted, and it was just super fun to actually do this. Now, when it comes to anything that has to do with flowers or foliage or anything along those lines, I always enjoy doing stuff like that. I always enjoy drawing flowers and plants, or any character that likes plants or is fond of flowers and stuff like that. I always enjoyed the process of doing anything that has to do with that. So automatically I was excited about this prompt, and it just turned out, you know, exactly how I wanted it to in the end too, which just made it even better. Now, I was trying to add more depth to the background by adding all those extra leaves and stuff, but I ended up scrapping that part because it ended up looking really, you know, muddy, and just it didn't actually look that cohesive. So I ended up scrapping that part and just doing the bigger flowers, and I added more depth using the color. And I also really liked doing the skin on this, because the whole thing was that this was supposed to kind of look like a dead body that was just like massacred by zombies or whatever. And this is a fresh one, so she isn't as pale yet, but she's still, you know, just kind of laying there, just slowly dying off amongst the other plants and stuff like that. And, you know, doing the bite marks and doing her skin and doing the chopped off parts of her arm and stuff like that. That part was some of the more fun parts. I think that was what I most enjoyed about this, as well as the color palette. The color palette was just perfect. I was scrolling around. I mainly use color palettes that I find online when I need to think up of a color palette for a certain piece, and this palette ended up working perfectly for the type of piece that this is, and I just loved how it ended up looking. This one also took the longest just because of the rendering alone. So the rendering of the skin and the hair and of a lot of the stuff in the background, in order to add that depth that I was talking about, that just took forever. But it was one of the more fun parts. Like the coloring, like I said, I love the color palette and stuff. So it was the most fun part of this entire piece, was doing the rendering and the coloring stuff. But it also did take the largest amount of time. This is the end result for dried flowers, and guys, I'm gonna be honest with you, I had sat here after I finished doing the voiceover and was just watching over and over the time lapse of this, because I actually love how the time lapse turned out as well. I hope that y'all enjoy looking at that just as much as I did. But anyway, let's move on to the last one. This last one was Shooting Star, but I ended up leaning away from the Shooting Star element and just making it more like a star face character. And yes, this is the last one. I think this is like 4 or 5 the only managed to do for Inktober. Kind of sad. I was really trying to do more, but it just didn't really happen. But I did have a lot more fun, even though I was complaining a lot about some things. I did have a lot of fun doing this whole, challenge. For this one, I was taking a lot of inspiration from some more abstract backgrounds that I was looking at on Pinterest and stuff for this, because I just wanted to make it really spacey and stuff. And of course, a lot of the things that have to do with my brand had to do with stars. So anything that has to do with stars, I'm just excited about doing. The color palette of this was also really pretty. I did like all the purples and blues that I ended up picking. This one took the shortest amount of time, for whatever reason. I don't know. I didn't render it as much as I did a lot of the other ones. And I think I had the most free time to do this, and which was ironic because the more free time I had, the less time that I actually spent on doing this. But I still actually liked how it turned out, and I liked the entire process of this. It was really fun to actually spend time on. This is a final result for Shooting Star. I really did enjoy doing this one. Again, the main thing with my brand is stars and space and stuff like that. So anything that has to do with stars, I'm all game with doing. And that is it for this video of my Inktober pieces. I did really enjoy making a lot of these. It's just that I didn't get to actually do as many as I really wanted to for this month, but I still did enjoy it, and I really, really hope that you guys enjoyed looking at this as much as I did. Again, I do have another Halloween-themed video coming out, and it has to do with my OC, so stay tuned for that. And yes, I am still working on the TMNT video. Don't think I forgot about that, because like I said, I really enjoyed talking about TMNT, and I really want to talk about the redesigns that I have for the turtles themselves. And I think I'm actually going to throw Splinter and Shredder in there too, but I'm not entirely sure yet, but we're going to see. But anyway, thank you guys again so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!